What's Working? I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is presented by Coastal Alabama Community College. And we're going to get in tonight's show a little bit differently, kind of show you or discuss with you some of the research that we do, kind of the planning work that I do with my clients to cue up tonight's conversation. If you're a regular listener, you know that the focus of the show is workplace and workforce trends. I've been doing some reading recently to help my clients kind of do some projections, some long-term planning. And the books that I'm reading are future-oriented books. How are things going to change? What does the future look like? These are all big predictions. One of them, though, stimulated some thought with me, and I'm going to list three things for you, and then we're going to talk about them in relation to our show tonight. So, number one, candles and gas lanterns. That's category number one. That's item number one. Item number two, turntables. And item number three, horses. So what do these three things have in common? Well, these are all items that when new technology came about, most people thought would disappear. We'll take candles and gas lanterns. Candles and gas lanterns obviously were the way to light homes back in the day. Back in the day. You had candles, you had gas lanterns. They were messy, they were oily, they were smoky, whatever it may be. And along comes electricity, and people saw the invention of electricity, then access to electricity, and they said, we've had enough of candles and gas lanterns, hope to never see them again. But they're back in a big way. I'm not announcing anything that you don't know. But candles and gas lanterns are today used mostly in high-end affairs. Now, I'm not talking about when the lights go out and the hurricane comes, but in high-end affairs, you're going to have a lot of candles. You're going to have beautiful gas lanterns. You drive past pretty buildings, and the chances are they're accented with gas lanterns. Pretty homes are accented with gas lanterns. It's a technology that we thought would go away with the invention of new technology, but have come back for specialized, elite, and let's say high-end purposes. Turntables, number two. When CDs came along, when MP3 music came along, we'll never see another turntable again. But they're back. And we learned this. We interviewed a guy named Keith Glass from Mobile Records. There's a big market for album collectors. There's a big market for expensive turntables. These are hobbyists who spend a lot of money for albums and a lot of money on high-end turntables. I thought turntables would go away and never come back again. But they're back and being used by the elite. You got to have money. Much like the candles and gas lanterns, they're a moneyed item. Turntables, a moneyed item. Horses. We thought the invention of the car, we'll never need horses again. They're messy, they're smelly, they require a lot of work. The car you turn on, you fill it up with fuel, so much easier. But people that have horses today, horses are a moneyed item. So these are things that were popular that we thought technology would eliminate, but are back. And somewhere around us right now is that next thing that we'll say, we'll never see this thing again, it'll coming back. Well, that cues up today's show. Travel agencies. With the advent of the internet, we would never need another travel agent. I can go find what I need to. I can book my hotels. I can book my flights. I can plan my trip. The internet has eliminated, I once thought, the need for a travel agent. But it's not. There's a travel agency here in Mobile, just like in any community across the country, that's doing a good business for moneyed customers. They do high-end travel, and you go to a travel agency, and they're not booking your plane ticket anymore. They're planning your vacation. It's the resurrection of the travel agency, and they've been going on for a while. When we come back, we're going to talk about travel agents and how they're surviving as well as they are today. We'll meet Bowden Sarrett. You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College, and we'll be right back.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in with Bowden Sarrett, CTC, which stands for Certified Travel Counselor. She's the Vice President Travel Advisor at Brownell Travel here in Mobile. And we're going to talk about the world of the travel agency. Bowden, first, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'm gonna begin with some analogies of things that have happened in the past, and I love these types of things because gas lanterns, horses, and turntables. These were items that in the past were fairly common. They went away, and then they've come back only for the elite. Gas lanterns are in front of nice houses and nice businesses. Horses are only owned by people generally with affluence. Turntables, you have to be a connoisseur of music, and you spend a lot on turntables. Are travel agents the same thing? Travel agencies the same thing? When I was first able to buy a plane ticket online, I thought, well, this is the end of a travel agency. However, it seems like they found a new niche in the marketplace. Tell me about that.
Well, it is. It's a whole new world because we started in 1887 with ship travel, with steamer trunks, with a professor from the University of Alabama who took a small group to Europe. They were inquisitive. They were wealthy. Nowadays, we're still doing custom travel like that, but in a very different way. We have a process that we call Discover More. It begins with why. Why do you want to travel? What's important to you? What's not important to you? What's your budget? What would kill the deal? Then we go with that and work to put together a proposal for you personally. So we've almost returned back to those early days where there weren't all these people who put things together for you. We still do some off-the-shelf travel. We do custom around those products. But in the end of the day, our clients are still curious people who want to go and meet and other people who do things differently in other parts of the world.
Your background from your bio includes some travel. Your first travel experience was on the Queen Elizabeth II, an incredible cruise liner. You spent time in France. Apparently, it got into your bones, did it? And it's just made you want to encourage other people to have these same experiences?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, I got confident. I got self-confidence because when you're in France studying by yourself or just with your other buddy, nobody's going to go to the train station and ask those questions. And if you can't figure out the schedule on your own, you're not going. So I found that I was curious, that I wanted to see and do so much. And, in those days you used green Michelin guides and you had to read everything and get the maps out yourself, and you missed trains and you missed places because you couldn't find them. Or, these days travel is so easy with a cell phone. Yeah. You can go out on your own. What we find is our niche is for people who really want to plan ahead, who really want to have some structure so that then when they do go off, it's in their planned off time. Often they plan something in an excursion or experience in the morning, and then the afternoons they wander and go back to the places that they want to see or do.
I want to hear about the value of spontaneity in travel, but before that, tell me about your customer. They want highly customized things. They're curious people. Give me a profile of who Brownell Travel serves.
It's such a wide group of people because we have all the generations, and they travel somewhat differently. But in the end of the day, our clients want a plan. Our clients want the details figured out. They want a budget. Often, I work with a lot of honeymooners. I work with a lot of multi-generational family things. I work with people who are maybe taking a first trip and they are not confident in their ability to put it all together. I just have clients back who bought a trip at an auction, and one part of the family wanted to wing it all, and the other part of the family really wanted a plan. And so they did the wing it part first, and then the planned part that I did second. And I can't wait to hear about it all because I think things happen on the wing it part.
Yeah.
That they love to go to the part where the details really have been thought out in advance, and you really do know what time the driver's picking you up, or the tour bus is going, or where your meal's going to be, or there's a mix of both of that, I guess, that most humans cling to.
When I have traveled in the past, and I don't have a lot of travel in Europe experience behind me, but the little few times that I have, the spontaneity of let's go down this road and let's have dinner here and let's sit and have this glass of wine. This was in Venice. My wife and I still talk about that, and it was not a part of the planned trip. How much do you push your clients to say, listen, you need to try something. You need to kind of go on and, yes, we're going to plan this out and you're going to be from here and then go here and then go here. But I want you to go do something that's not on the agenda and experience the spontaneity of it. Would you ever say that to them?
Absolutely. Well, there's a wonderful article we've been sharing that National Geographic just did about the reality that when you go somewhere else, the beauty is seeing that they do it differently and trying not to compare that cup of coffee with your cup of coffee, but instead going, this is how they have coffee here. And enjoy that, oh gosh, instead of getting bugged when you're stuck in a long line, thinking, let me see what's going on around me that might be different. This is how they do it here, and respecting that culture, that change. We also do a lot with private guides, private drivers, because then you can stop when and where you want, and you linger at a piece of art that you want more information about, and you scurry through the Sistine Chapel if it's really, really crowded that day.
Yeah.
So that's where a private guide really is so helpful. I had somebody last week in Murano, which is one of the islands around Venice.
Make all the glass.
And they wanted to get out of there because the high-pressure salesman was pushing them. And, that's the guide's job. Get you out of there.
Yeah.
It's time for our coffee break. Sorry, we can't stay.
Right.
So, absolutely. I tell people, we do a lot of Venice, Florence, Rome. Venice is to wander. Venice is a city to get lost in, to smell the smells, see the sights, get all turned around, because that's where you find Venice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was our case. We'll never forget that. It was absolutely wonderful. Do you ever have a client call and ask questions of you that perhaps you haven't worked with before, and you can tell by the questions that they're asking, this just isn't going to work out. This is not someone I can serve?
Sometimes, but that's where we go to our process, because with our Discover More, we really tell clients how we work, and we try to understand what they're looking for so that we can see if we're a good fit. We don't want anybody to pay us for spending time to research something and put together a proposal that's wrong.
Yeah. So do you, this discovery process, is that what it's called?
It's called Discover More. It's a trademarked process that we have.
That's unique to your company?
Mm-hmm.
Give me some samples of questions that you would ask that, and do you ever see your customers surprised at what they say as a result?
We have sort of two main forms, and nobody hates worse than sitting down at the doctor and having to figure out that form again. But it really helps us get inside what's going on. If we can know if anybody in the family has health issues, if there are any, even just family issues maybe that we need to know about, relationships. If there are, what was your favorite trip? What's your favorite hotel? Why did you love it so? Tell us about another trip you took. Did you hit 10 countries in 12 days? Or are you somebody who really wants to go and unwind and stay and poke around? And, tell us what works and what doesn't for you. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
I have a couple who just got home from a couple of weeks, and the first thing the husband said to me was, we're going to lie around and have breakfast in bed. Most people don't do that in Europe.
Yeah.
Most Americans think that it is time to tick things off a list, and we are not going home if we hadn't seen this.
Right.
These people really, really wanted to enjoy their hotels. So that's a different hotel room than somebody who just really wants something central clean, breakfast included, so they can hit the road.
So they can do Rome, they can do Venice, whatever it may be.
We Americans are very different. Years ago, we took our family and got a villa in Tuscany. And they tend to be apartments on working farms. And so there's a swimming pool, there's a barbecue, that's sort of common area. The Europeans are lying around the pool. They're on vacation.
Yeah.
We instead are loading up the van, loading up the children, packing snacks in case we can't find somewhere to eat.
Right.
And we are working hard on our vacation.
To get everything in.
Yeah, so it's totally, so we got to get into the psyche.
I'm here with Bowden Sarrett. She is the Vice President of Travel and Travel Advisor at Brownell Travel. And I want to talk a little bit about trendy places that you're seeing come up. You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. And we'll be right back. The destinations sound beautiful, and the customers sound like fun and energetic people. However, being a successful travel agent requires a lot of customer service skills and having some insight into hospitality management. Coastal Alabama Community College offers a program in hospitality services management at the Gulf Shores campus designed to put graduates right into the workplace. Courses include food purchasing and cost controls, event planning and management, sanitation and safety, and restaurant service management. To learn more about this program, go to coastalalabama.edu or visit the Gulf Shores campus. We'll be right back.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
This is Coastal Alabama Community College, where education is key and where there is opportunity in every classroom. We serve 9 counties with one common goal. Here we come together to create a brighter future. Together we inspire. Together we learn. Together we succeed. This is Coastal Alabama Community College. All together.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
This is Cam Marston. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm with Bowden Sarrett with Brownell Travel. And before the break, Bowden, we were talking about trendy places. I remember reading for the first time about Croatia. And I thought, I got to go to the Dalmatian coast. There's a city in Croatia, I think called Split or something. Split in Croatia. I want to go to this place. It sounds awesome. And it seemed to be on every travel site that I looked at. It was in every travel magazine. Now I don't see it so much. Are there destination trends in the travel business like Croatia, for example?
Absolutely. And Croatia is still very hot.
Is it?
It absolutely is. I went this summer, in fact, on a cruise with my daughter. It's just across the water from Italy. So there's very much that's like Italy. And Americans are crazed for Italy. Yeah. I sell Italy every day of my life. So Croatia is one of those. Iceland's hot, hot, hot. Iceland's infrastructure has not met the demand, so they're building as fast as they can, but it can be crowded. And it's crazy expensive because they don't have the infrastructure. They can charge whatever they want. There are good flights from New York, so people can hop over there for 3 days. I had a client who was doing, an intensive family trip to Ireland, and the son said, who lives in New York, "Mom, can't we stop by Iceland on the way home?" It's that kind of, it's hot, hot, hot. Japan's really hot. It's crazy expensive right now. Getting ready for the Olympics is going to be even crazier expensive.
No kidding, yeah. I would never have thought Japan would be hot. It just looks to me to be busy and crowded. It doesn't seem to be a destination that I would want to go to.
Absolutely. It is over the top, fascinating. People love the difference of it. They love the life is so different from ours.
Yeah.
Everything they do, everyone there has a heated toilet seat. Who knew?
Right.
Everyone.
Yeah. That's news to me.
Everything is expensive because they might spend 2 years on a piece of lacquer. The customs are very different. They're very rigid. You can be served and say, I've had enough to eat. Could I just have rice? And they will smile sweetly, but you're going to get everything with that rice. There is no deviation. There's no, we Americans are used to having it our way, and it is not that way in Japan. It's very, very different culture, very traditional. So it's a fascinating place. And now with the Olympics, everyone's focused there.
What about China? I understand. I mean, as I look through the travel magazines and the websites, there are beautiful things to be seen in China. However, my understanding is also that it's heavily controlled by the government. Sometimes you can't really go where you want to, and you certainly can't wander. This is what I'm told, like you just mentioned in Venice. You can't just leave and wander around and discover in China. Is that the case? Is that true?
Well, it can be much like Russia, maybe, but you've got to get the visa, and what we do so often is custom travel. So you've got a guide who is taking you and can curate your visit based on your interests. Are you a doctor? Are you interested in medical things? Or do you love gardens? Or do you want to see the Great Wall? Or do you, so we pre-plan based on your interests, your needs, your health, your physical abilities, so that you know ahead of time that you can see and do the things you want to do.
What are the destinations on the rise? If I were to say, hey, I want to go someplace that's going to be popular in 5 years and I don't want to have to visit it before it gets too popular, what are the destinations on the rise?
Well, I would say Cuba continues to wax and wane because there still are ways for Americans to get to Cuba. We had a vendor in Friday who represented, it's a vendor rep, and he represents a company that is still sending Americans to Cuba.
Are they sending them through
airlines
Mexico?
Are still flying. No, the airlines are still flying. So, that is one. I would say South America.
Yeah.
We're selling a lot of Africa. Africa certainly discovered it's a pilgrimage of a trip, like the Middle East is, can be a pilgrimage of a trip. Much of what you spend in Africa is money that goes to protecting the animals, protecting the land. Mm-hmm. And so, travel is on the rise to those places, but it's going to be very controlled. So you need to go because, it's never going to open up, I think, and be ready for mass hordes, because that'll tear up the animals.
Yeah.
That'll tear up the land. That will, there's too much conservation that's important.
Do people ever ask you to I want to go somewhere completely off the grid. I want to go someplace that there's not a tourist magazine about this place. I want to find some place that hasn't been discovered. It seems like it would be a tough request for you to fulfill.
Well, lots of clients do that in places where we normally send people. So Western Europe, I have a young couple I'm thinking of who loves Spain. They love to go to Spain. They have been to sort of they've been to Barcelona and that coast. They've been to Madrid. They've been down to the south of Spain. But now they want to go to smaller places where they can maybe hike or ride bikes or be off in smaller places that are still civilized places with hotels and things to stay, not totally off the grid, but having a much more local experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads me to ask about Airbnb or renting an apartment. How does that affect your business?
It's interesting. We can't go there because we can only sell properties that are vetted, that are government rated, we just can't, there's too much that can be done with photography or we just can't really, by the time I spend enough time researching something, I'd have to charge the client too much money to make it worth selling one of those. So many of our vendor partners have gone under because those people that used to rep apartments or homes, their business model's lost.
Yeah.
So that's a change we've seen. There are some that still do those properties. They tend to be bigger properties that are staffed. And look for, maybe a house for 16 people, not just a little apartment for 2 or 4.
Right.
So we still do some of that, but it's in a different way often.
Do you advise people to do that? Do you think that's a good idea? To use an Airbnb or something?
I do pieces and parts lots of times for people. If you want to book your own Airbnb for these 4 nights, but you want me to put you in a property that I know for these 4 nights, and then you want to do a ship after that, or, we put we cobble things together. That's what we're really good at, is details.
Yeah.
So, and we have an app that's really cool. So once we get the final itinerary published, you download it. It's on your phone. You don't need Wi-Fi to see anything.
Oh, I see.
You can upload into that itinerary anything you've booked on your own, be it a dinner reservation, or you have a business appointment, or you've booked the Airbnb. Any of those tiny details can all be in this one pretty place that you can follow.
Yeah, there's never a question of what are we doing today, or where did the agenda go? It's going to be in your pocket.
Right.
Now, if there's the perception, I guess, that by hiring a company like yours, I'm going to pay more for my trip. Address how you charge. Address what premiums I'm going to pay. Am I going to pay, $200 for this hotel if I book it direct, but if you book it for me, it's going to be $250.
Oh, my job is to make sure that you get good value, period, the end. So this morning I got clients had decided on a London hotel they wanted. I got the thing back and the hotel prices had gone up. They've been sitting on it for the decision for 3 or 4 weeks. So I then went, because I was booking with a vendor who also will do their car and driver and will do some other services, and offers them some extra perks, like breakfast and I can't remember something else. But so I went to see, we've got access to some corporate negotiated rates. So I went to see, hey, wait a minute, let me see if I can book the same hotel in this room category for better than them. And then I went back to the vendor and said, okay, I can get this for these rates. What are your amenities so that we can see if it's worth the value or not? So that's my job.
Yeah.
And I'll charge you for the time to research what I'm doing, based on the time it's going to take, just like the electrician charges for how long he's at your house.
Yeah, so you're going to charge, if I were to come to you with a very complex schedule, I want to go from here to here and I want to see this, and you're going to spend a good bit of time researching. It's not a flat fee. We're going to charge you hourly in order to get this ready for you.
It's based on the body of the work. Normally, I can give you an estimate of what, you tell me I want a 10-day trip to the south of France, and I want you to do frequent flyer air, and I want you to plan every dinner. If you tell me the scope of the work, I can tell you what that's going to take.
Yeah.
I won't charge you till I've done that work and presented the proposal, and then we work together collaboratively to adjust it to exactly what you want before I book anything.
Do the customers become burdensome with detail? Do they they want an elite room or something like that. That's
where we have these partners all over the world who absolutely can provide those things.
Yeah.
Right now I just booked a Paris room for somebody. The wife doesn't sleep well. So he said, we've got to have a room with a parlor of some sorts where she can be up and I can still be asleep. Got it. We can do that.
Yeah.
That's my job. Man.
It's a dream come true. When my wife and I travel, I'm usually up early. I'm up early regardless of where I am or what day it is. And a vacation to her is, I'm going to sleep. And after I sleep, I'm going to take 3 naps, and then I'm going to bed that night. And I think, all right, I'm going to get up and do something. So we've lucked into rooms that have a parlor, and I can get up and drink coffee and stuff like that. It makes it a much more pleasant vacation.
But that's the kind of discover more stuff we want.
Yeah.
That's the kind of detail that helps us so much offer you from the get-go what you want. I have a honeymoon couple right now who came in and talked with me for a good hour.
Wow.
And knowing the first proposal, they said, yep, it's perfect. Done.
Due to the amount of time they spent, they were able to look at this proposal
with me
that you had created and say, yeah, you've given us exactly what we wanted.
But I had the chance to say, do you think you'd like a Vespa tour in Rome? Do you think you'd like a cooking class? Do you think, is this you or is this not you? Do you want to go on a hike? Do you want to ride a bicycle in Tuscany? The hills are really high.
Right. It sounds beautiful, but the hills are steep. Remember, the hills are steep.
Would you rather drink and have a driver?
Right. What are the trends in honeymoon travel? They must change as well.
Well, they're amazing. They get bigger and bigger. I go back to, I've been doing this 38 years. So I go back to the days where really everyone went to the Caribbean pretty much.
Yeah.
And you stayed 5 to 7 days, and you stayed at Conneaut Bay or Little Dix Bay, or there were just a handful of resorts. Now the Caribbean's full of amazing resorts, and they get better once the hurricanes come through, because then they rebuild these, even better places.
Yeah.
Horrible things happen, but in the end, they
I
come
never
back stronger
considered that.
and better.
Yeah.
They do. They come back stronger and better. But then people are getting married older, so they have sometimes less time, sometimes more money. It's not the olden days where Dad was paying for that honeymoon so much anymore. So it's different. It's totally different. Sometimes they don't have time for a honeymoon, and they postpone them and do them later, do them when they want to travel, when the season's right, even though the wedding is one time, so it's all different.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do destination weddings? Do you work on things like that?
A little bit. It's hard to get married in foreign places. Each country has its own laws. And so years ago, I had a couple that wanted to get married in Italy. Well, they were going to have to fly 2 couples to Fort Lauderdale or somewhere South Florida to meet with the consulate to begin the process of legally marrying in Italy. And they threw their hands up and forget it, we'll get married here and have a really nice honeymoon and maybe a blessing ceremony.
Yeah.
And so we don't do a lot of that for the simple reason that it's complicated. The laws are complicated.
Yeah.
There's some of the islands you have to be there. There's a residency requirement, so you have to be there 5 days before you can legally get married, or different things.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I was in, I think, speaking of blessing, my wife and I were in St. Peter's Square out in front of the St. Peter's Church, right, in Rome, at the turn of the century when it went from 99 to 2000.
Oh, cool.
And that was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had, watching the Pope come out at the time and wave his hand. And then as the midnight struck, he was cloaked in a royal purple robe immediately, and the fireworks went out, and everyone got silent to look at the Pope. It was really, I get chills talking about it. Anyway, we'll come back in a moment. You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We will be right back.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see 2 stories, or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading, or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. The show is brought to you, presented by Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm with Bowden Sarrett, Vice President of Brownell Travel. Bowden, let's talk about crowds. Let's talk about destinations that are famous and busy. And you can hire a personal guide. This is something I've experienced a few times that can move around the lines, that can get you into these places a little bit. Give me the mindset that I need to have if I were to go to, for example, to the Holy Land, and I'm going to be sharing an extraordinary site with 1 million people, with tons of people. How do you tell people to prepare for this? I mean, you don't want them to be surprised when they come up to the site and see hordes of people. How do you tell them you need to know that this is not an exclusive event. This site is open to all faiths in the example of the Holy Land, and there are a lot of folks coming from many different places to see it. What do you say?
Well, it's interesting. I just had this couple who was there, and they were prepared for crowds. What they were surprised by is that some of the monuments are controlled by different faiths. And so the Orthodox owned, he especially mentioned, I think, the Holy Sepulchre. And he said they closed it for ceremonies, and you're in line, and it doesn't matter who's in line. They control it. It's their place, and they're going to close it and do whatever they want to do. Then they opened it, let a few more in, and then they closed it again. And you just have to have that travel mindset of, this is theirs, and I'm a visitor, and I need to be on my best behavior because it's their house, it's their world, and I'm just a guest. And we all have to remember when we're visiting anywhere to tread lightly and leave no footsteps that would leave bad impressions.
Yeah. I've seen people get upset. I'm sure you've heard these stories when the destination that they came to see was closed or being renovated or closed for a ceremony or something like that. And you've traveled a long way to see this thing. However, the rug's been pulled out from under your feet at the very moment. It's got to be a special person that can just adjust and roll on, huh?
Well, that's why we do so much custom, though, too, is that we really do, like at the Vatican, you can have breakfast at the Vatican and go in early. So maybe the Sistine Chapel's not quite so full of people and such a roar in a place that should be quiet and holy in many people's minds. So.
Yeah. There's a coffee shop on the roof of the Vatican. There used to be. Did you know that?
I've never been there.
You can go to the very top of the Vatican and get a cup of coffee and sit there and look out over
down.
the square.
I've been up,
over the square.
Yeah.
At least the last time I was there, which was a long, long time ago. That's what it was. So let's talk about your customers a little bit more. I find this interesting, and I saw this in a financial services report, which is many people retire, and they say and they plan for this, and they work hard, and they say, when I retire, I'm going to travel. And they do retire and they do travel. And after having gone one or two places, they say, well, what do I do next? Do you find that your customers are retirees who have always saved and wanted to travel? Is there a good customer base in the retirees for you?
Absolutely. The baby boomers are a huge group who have educated their children. They've bought the things they want. I think September 11th also was a huge change in our business because people went away from buying things to buying time and experiences with their families. And that just speaks to what we do.
Yeah, and they continue to do it. So they don't take one trip and say, I'm done with my travel plans for retirement. It's a new trip, a new trip, a new trip.
Lots of new trips, and it's also multi-generational. We do lots of grandparents taking children and grandchildren.
Yeah. One of the things that I read about the millennial generation, the youngest customers of yours, I suspect, is their search for experiences, just like what you said, versus things. They want experiences. Is part of your discovery process to learn about those experiences and what they want?
Absolutely, because that affects the budget. I got to know if they want to spend the money on the hotel room or they'd rather spend it on a private tasting out in Tuscany, with a driver and a special lunch experience, or if they want a surfing lesson on the coast of Mexico, or if often that generation does want an experience and they don't necessarily need so much in their hotel room. They want to spend it doing things, making memories, posting.
That's right. I got to get the perfect Instagram shot. That's right. Can you ask a customer questions and say, I'd like to travel with him or her? Is there something that they say or that they reflect back to you that say this would be a good couple or individual or something to travel with?
Absolutely. And I also, the best part of our 5-step process, this Discover More process, is share. And at the end of the trip, we call to have this debrief because we learn so much from our clients. And that's when people share things that they have appreciated, or that they did, or that they loved, or that they didn't love, you get to their heart, to their soul.
Yeah.
And it's really a special bonding thing. Then you really can plan for them better the next time just because you know them and you know that they love dogs, or just little things. But that's the most precious time that I ever spend is hearing about it. And sometimes I'm hearing the good, bad, ugly too.
Right.
But hearing about it is part of this relationship that is key to what we do.
What about single travel? I've read about that recently. Single female travel, which historically people would say, you should never travel alone. It's dangerous, etc. But that seems to be on the rise.
Huge market, huge world. There are companies like, say, Backroads who have single-only departures, bike trips or hikes, or they do multi-sport trips. It's expensive for singles to go on cruises. Sometimes they'll have promotions that are not, because they're used to getting a per diem per head.
Right.
So they've charged double for if there's only one in that cabin. But more and more we're seeing some promotions for those. And we just do some custom travel for singles. Lots of singles also travel with buddies. So they're singles traveling, but they're 2, 4, 6 of them.
Right. There's
lots of ladies travel together. A lot of ladies.
Why?
Well, for one thing, I think even if they're married and have families, it's less expensive. If only one goes, it's instead of the family of 5, it's less expensive. So that's an option going with my girlfriend. If my husband's not really interested in going anyway, and it's not an appropriate trip for the children, especially where 2 people in households work. So men go on golf trips or go on certain, kinds of things themselves, bike trips or whatever. And sometimes ladies do trips that they want to do.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think, something called backcountry.
Backroads.
Backroads, a vendor to you. Is that right?
Yeah.
My in-laws are big fans of talc tours. They can't stop talking about talc tours. Now, in my mind's eye, and I'll probably get hate mail from this, I see a lot of people with Velcro shoes shuffling in lines behind each other. There's someone at the front of the line with an umbrella with a big balloon on the top that tells everybody who to follow, and they all have fanny packs on. And they wake up in the morning and they talk about what hurts today. It's the
You
they
are
go
wrong.
through
You are
they
wrong.
go
You
through
are
the
wrong.
organ recital of here's what hurts today. I couldn't put my Velcro shoes on. Where's my fanny pack? Okay, let's get in line. We're going to see the Vatican or something like that. And it looks miserable. The thought of it is miserable to me.
Talc is the untour. If there's ever a company they started, that's a family name, and the Talc family are still in the business running it. One of the girls' husbands runs the Bridges product, which is their family product, but other Peter Talc still in the Talc family still running it. They started as foliage bus trips. You're exactly right.
Leaf
in New
peepers.
England, in Connecticut,
Yeah.
absolutely. They now go all over the world. They charter ships, they charter river cruises. The beauty is that you are with a group. You are with not a step-on guide from the local area. You are with a Talc employee. You also, who is empowered to solve problems and has money to solve problems. If you are at lunch and you don't have any money, they'll give you some. They can take care of you where other companies, contract employees can't. But also, you don't get off the bus and go line up in the lobby. You go check in one-on-one, or you're given your key and go straight to your room from the bus.
Yeah.
You don't go eat in the back room and have fish or chicken. You go into the restaurant and order off the menu and sign Talc tours. So it is not the group tour that
Right.
you're thinking of. It's a very different product.
Never been. My in-laws are big fans.
They have raving fans.
You should hear them talk about it. But similar is my image of a cruise. Now, I've never been on a cruise. My favorite definition of the cruise, it's 1,000 people fighting for 500 chairs.
That does exist.
Yeah.
That's not really what we sell. But even on the luxuries, you can have a fight for the chair at the pool. But it's a very different, all-inclusive luxury product that we sell. And some of the ships have 100 guests.
Yeah.
So it's not 1,000, not 5. There are ships with 5,000 now. And they actually manage the flow and the crowds pretty well, given what they are.
Yeah.
But the cruises that we sell tend to be smaller. Most of the luxuries don't get any larger than 1,000. Some are 700, 500, down to 100. So it just depends on the product. But those small ships can go places that the big ships can't go.
That's interesting. I never considered that.
Do things the big ships can't do. And so you get off with 100 or 200. It's totally different than if you get off with 1,000.
Let's talk local. What is the hidden treasure within our midst right here in South Alabama?
I thought about that, and I think people are missing what's going on in downtown Mobile. We have so much going on that we have this vendor that came to call on us Friday. He loves Mobile. He loves to come stay here. He found the Crescent Theater. He found George's Candy Shop. I mean, he came on Thursday night, and before he got to us at lunch Friday, he had done all kinds of things in Mobile. So I think that's one. Drivable around here, I have never been, but I've always wanted to go up to Greenwood, Mississippi, up in the Delta.
Oh.
To the Alluvian Hotel, and there's a Viking cooking school there. So that would be and you can do, the blues of the Delta. Morgan Freeman has a blues place.
Right.
So, that's a very different culture that's right here, drivable from us. That might be a hidden something people hadn't thought about.
That's interesting. I never considered that. We know New Orleans. We know the panhandle of Florida. We know our own Gulf Coast, but never thought about headed up into the Mississippi Delta to see some of that.
Read a book called Dispatches from Pluto. It's written by an English guy or couple who buy a plantation home in the Delta and all the trials of it. But it's written, it gets into racism, but from a very interesting viewpoint. It's a beautiful book, and it shows you just the depth of that culture. It's wonderful.
Do you do not local, but do you do national work as well? You want to go see Yellowstone? We can help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are the national parks still as popular as they've always been?
They are. They're hard because the accommodations are very limited.
Yeah.
So we have some vendor partners who we work with who can curate private experiences with a private guide. One day, if you want, take you to the rodeo a day. You do all kinds of different things. So yeah, we can do them, but we really like to do curated trips.
Yeah.
Because you can get, the West Gate's closed or the this or the that. That's hard to anticipate without an expert.
One of my first jobs out of college was as a tour guide at Glacier National Park, and I've always wanted to go back and stay in one of the lodges. There are never rooms available.
You have to book them a year ahead.
I know. I don't even know what I'm doing next week.
Some of like Talc Tours will book those rooms ahead.
Talc Tours. I may end up booking a Talc Tour. Oh my goodness. How do people get in touch with you if they would want, if they've heard something you've said and they've said, it's time for me to go to Iceland? How do they contact you?
The easiest is to go to the Brownell website probably and find me. You'll see our website has no product. It's all about the process and our advisors, and it's easy to find me. You can call me. I turn my cell phone off at the office because I have 2 screens and a desk phone, and that's all I can manage communication-wise.
Sounds reasonable. Bowden Sarrett, CTC, Certified Travel Counselor, Brownell Travel. Thank you so much, Bowden.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. We'll be right back with final comments. Most folks get excited to try new restaurants and new foods when they travel. It's part of the adventure. It's a part of getting out of your comfort zone. Coastal Alabama Community College offers a culinary arts certificate at the Gulf Shores campus that includes classes like the fundamentals of baking, advanced food prep, foundations in nutrition, as well as English composition and introduction to public speaking. If food service or the food and beverage industry has ever interested you, this is the place and the way to begin. Contact Coastal Alabama Community College now to learn more.
Is your business growing? Does your existing metal building need an update? Expansion? New roof? With almost 20 years of experience, Mosley Building Systems is the leading metal building contractor along the Gulf Coast. We are your local design build experts. From expansion to new construction or repairs, we can guide you through all aspects of your project. Mosley Building Systems works with each client to fulfill their vision. For more information, go to mosleybuildingsystems.com.
Coastal Alabama Community College is 3 amazing colleges combined into one incredible institution. And that means we're all together. For more sports, 15 more locations, more friends, more one-on-one time with instructors, way more activities, more courses, a lot more courses, and more success for all of us. Pretty much more of everything. Coastal Alabama Community College is where everyone is. All together! Coastal Alabama Community College. Register today.
I want to thank Bowden for her time. She works in an industry that we all kind of I guess, love. Everybody loves to talk about travel. Everybody thinks about travel. It's kind of a common question, particularly when you're meeting someone new. Have you traveled any place, or where do you want to go? Do you have trips planned? It's a question that you ask your peers. Boy, if you had 2 or 3 straight weeks without having to come home and you could really go somewhere and be gone for a while, where would you want to go? What would you want to do? What would you want to see? As for myself, I think Bowden's on to something that she said something that stimulated my thought. I've traveled a good bit for work, but personal leisure travel, my attitude has historically been, we're going to go, quote unquote, do the place. We're going to go do Scotland. We're going to go do Hawaii. We're going to go, and you try to see it. You tick off the boxes of the sites that you need to see so you can come home and tell your friends, yeah, we've done Scotland. We've done Hawaii. We've done Italy. My goal, I guess because I'm getting old and tired, is to go to these places and be there now. Not to do them, but to be there. I want to go be in Hawaii. I want to wake up in the same place through the entire trip and get to know people that live there and see the pace of life in that place. It's a new way of travel that I'm looking forward to, should I ever find the time or the money to do so. I'd love to get taken or directed, perhaps, by someone like Bowden and her team to say, this is, if you want to go be somewhere and do it, just be there. And it's different, be very different than where you are now. Go here, Cam, go here. One of the places I've always wanted to go is Sicily and see about that. Just being in Sicily, a convergence of so many cultures on this island at the foot of Italy to see what that's like. Anyway, moving on. Again, thanks to Bowden. Appreciate it. One of the pieces of research that we found a couple of weeks ago, it's always fun to see what the millennial generation is being blamed for these days, whether it be the loss of good music, whatever it may be. Everybody's turning to the millennials as the cause, the root of so many problems. But one that we came across not long ago, and I actually blogged about it on my website. Go to cammarston.com. You can find this blog. We titled it, What We're Blaming the Millennials For This Week, and the answer, saving too much money. There was a report issued recently that perhaps one of the downturns or the slowings of our economy that we're seeing today can be attributed to this massive generation who is saving too much money. At what point in our lives have where have we gone if we're telling the next generation, you're saving too much, your discipline needs to be to spend more, not save too much, spend more. Yes, we have and I'm using air quotes here, retirement crisis on the horizon for so many different people, many different generations. But you millennials, don't you worry about your retirement crisis. We'll get to that eventually. Right now, you're saving too much. Go spend the money on behalf of the economy. I roll my eyes. Every week, the millennials are blamed for something new. It's absolutely comical. All right, wrapping up for the week, I want to thank Kristen Ogden. Kristen is the scheduler. She pairs my schedule with whoever we have on the agenda, and it's not easy sometimes. I begin a couple of weeks of travel here, and she's working around it. And I want to thank John Thompson. John is the producer of the show with Ion Digital. You want to know more about John's work, go to Ion Digital, EYEON digital.com. We'll have another show for you next week. Have a good week, everybody.